It was the spring semester of 1988 at Sierra Community College in Rocklin, California. I stood in the parking lot talking with a friend of mine from calculus class, and he said that girls in Southern California were really loose. I was a virgin at the time, 21 years of age, and the prospect of loose girls just seemed heavenly. He gestured with his hands to describe how wide and how moist they were in a certain passage. He indicated that one could do anything with them and they'd love it. March 30th, 1994. I drove for 7 hours from my parents' home in Newcastle to UCLA in Westwood. It was a couple of months after the big Northridge earthquake, and traffic on the 5 South was diverted onto side streets at one point. It was raining, it was about 10 p.m., and I poured into a UCLA dorm where I'd stay for the next couple of months with a member of the UCLA faculty. The next week I'd placed a singles ad in the Los Angeles Times. I only remember one response. It was from a spunky woman who was all giggly and excited to meet me. She said, "I look like Julia Roberts, only I have bigger breasts." She picked me up the next evening in Westwood. She had a Julia Roberts smile and facial structure, and her bust was plentiful. She worked as a movie editor in Hollywood and lived in Studio City. I was so happy to be back in LA after 5 bedridden years of chronic fatigue syndrome. Her big breasts symbolized the bounty of Southern California. I couldn't wait to get stuck in. She wasn't Jewish, but I did not mind. She took me to a sushi bar in Santa Monica where she ate dinner, so we talked about my conversion to Judaism. And she drove me north on the Pacific Coast Highway, eventually pulling off to the side in Malibu. It was about 10 p.m. We walked out to some rocks beside the ocean. I put my arms around her and we started making out. And I got bored and reached for her. "Okay, but no further," she said. Then she drove me home. A few evenings later, she picked me up again. "I want to show you something," she said. She drove me to the Holocaust Memorial at Pan Pacific Park. As we stood there in the dark, I tried to grope her, but she held me off. She didn't think it was right to fool around in a Holocaust memorial. I wanted to spend the night with her, but she said she couldn't drop me off in Westwood in the morning. I told her I had access to a friend's apartment in Westwood that evening, even though it was being renovated. So she drove me off, dropped me off at the dorm. I ran inside, grabbed a blanket, and then rejoined her in the car, and we drove down the hill. Then we parked, went up the elevator to my friend's apartment, 4th floor. I turned the key in the lock, and in the midst of the reconstruction, I spread out the blanket. We took off our clothes, and we laid down together, and we began kissing. I've been imagining this moment for days, but now it was strangely anticlimactic. I was so excited to have what I wanted most that I couldn't rise to the occasion. As I lay on top of her, her D-cup natural breast no longer seemed that big. Finally, I rolled off her and held her in my arms and stroked her to a climax. Then she drove home. I don't think I ever talked to her again. I got busy with 2 women I known from UCLA back in 1988-89. And this woman from New York flew in for the Memorial Day weekend, and I let the Julia Roberts look-alike. I just let her go. A few days later, I got a long letter from her. When I read it, I felt like she was holding me close once again and looking into my eyes while the ocean just surged around us. She talked about how much she treasured our time together. She thanked me for being gentle and considerate with her, and she asked to reconnect. I don't know why I did not call her. She had everything I wanted in a woman, aside from Judaism. I guess I was spoiled. I'd been in Los Angeles for a few weeks and had already nailed various women who'd previously been out of my league. I lived in the City of Angels, and I felt that Julia wasn't such a big deal. I was wrong. I was very wrong. Many nights when I go to bed alone, I think about Julia. I don't reread her letter in my mind and wonder what might have been. I don't picture what she looks like now. I don't replay us wrestling beside the Holocaust Memorial, nor do I dwell upon my inadequate performance of the ultimate deed. Instead, I see us standing on the rocks in Malibu beside the ocean on our first radiant night together. I see her lean away from my kiss to pull off her shirt and to unsnap her bra and to offer me breasts as big as the moon. And she stands above me as I sit on the rock, and I suck on her like a hungry child.